conducting it from space. Got to do something with this to make a joke out of it. Here we are, day after September 11. I have with me Rudy Washington, who he and I were together for 8 years governing New York City. He was a great deputy mayor. It's particularly wonderful to be with him on an anniversary of September 11, that he had a great deal to do with making it turn out to be, gosh, as safe as it could be, right? But in any event, it's also remarkable that we're here dealing with versions of the same problem: violence, hatred, political violence, some of it coming from Islamic, some of it coming from communism, some of it coming from internal problems. I don't know that we've had a bigger era of violence ever. We talked about it in the earlier show. And I'd like to really just get Rudy's views on this, because he's lived through all this. He's had to deal with it both as a government official and on the business side. And he's got a really good feel for this mayor's race that is becoming international in scope, as a sign of just how far left America has gone, and just what the impact of Trump is. And it may very well be that we have like a divided country. So Rudy, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, Rudy is dealing with some pretty bad after effects from September 11, like a real man.
Yeah.
And I remember the night you called me with the COVID, and that was pretty scary, because you have a lung that has problems. Right. But you fought that off.
Yeah, and you got me a doctor that really watched over me. Jules. Out in Staten Island.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Right, he took over. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he and another doctor that he brought to the table, and they handled my care, and they took care of me, and I thank you for that.
I think they did things they weren't even supposed to do.
I'm not going there.
But I don't know. I look back on that, and we got to do that another time. They were getting people killed.
Yeah.
They were getting people killed so they could preserve that vaccine.
Yeah. Well, there's some ugly periods in our history, as a country.
That's one of the ugliest.
And I think we're about ready to go through, if not have going through, an ugly period in our country right now. I mean, to the point I don't understand it. I don't understand. I know intelligent people that and if I shared the names, you would say, yeah, they're intelligent. And you say Donald Trump's name, and stupidness comes out of their mouth. I just, they go stupid. I'm like, what's the matter with you?
But I agree with that. That's been a while. But how did stupid get to violent? And then how did violent get to actually carrying it out?
Well, we've escalated. Right?
It began with statements that you say to yourself, oh, they're nuts and they're out of their minds and they're going too far. Then they'd start saying things that really suggested violence. Then they covered up a lot for 2020, the violence then. Now it almost seems like they're encouraging, they're carrying it out and financing it.
Mayor, after the first attempt on the president's life in Pennsylvania, I listened closely to what some of our congressional leaders were saying, and they were calling for his death. And I'm saying to myself, wow, that person should be indicted. Yeah. They literally was calling for his death with, code words. And I'm like, what's the matter with us? Our elected officials are doing this, and the media covers for it. This Mandami kid, as far as I'm concerned, Mayor, he has not uttered one word or one policy that he can do as mayor. Mm-hmm. As you know, Mayor, he can't control the bus transportation or trains and make them free.
Right.
The governor has the votes on that. And
she's running for re-election, and no way she's going to do it. But she's not that dopey.
Well, I don't know. That congestion pricing.
Okay, I won't go too far.
That congestion pricing, and that was one that if I could have gotten Eric's ear, I would have told him, fight it. I mean, today in the day's paper, MTA got $1 billion in fare evasion.
People should know that the MTA in New York, the governor, really has the authority, not the mayor.
Right.
And very often that becomes a big, big problem.
Now,
and the MTA probably wastes more money
Exactly.
than anything.
Yeah, if you know,
the-
we were constantly fighting with them, you
Yeah.
know, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
were running with double books and playing games all the
And
time.
I think in the latter years, it's even worse than we thought.
Right. And now, you know, they carry on the books at Bridge and Tunnels about $3 billion worth of lost revenue. Same thing. I mean, and nobody basically enforces the law anymore. I mean,
Well, Rudy, what do you think of the mayor's race? And the president, I guess, has been pretty public about the fact that he thinks if Adams and Curtis drop out, that Cuomo would have a chance. But actually, just yesterday, he said he's not sure if Cuomo would have a chance.
I got an interesting one for
What do
you.
you think?
You know, and people are going to say, "Oh, you nuts." I think if you look at the demographics of New York, Cuomo is controlling the black vote, not Eric. Cuomo is.
Cuomo, Adams should be.
He should be, but he's not.
He did when he ran last time, right?
Yes, but he's not. If Cuomo got out of the race and Adams got out of the race, I can promise you all of Cuomo's votes, except for some of the African-American votes, would go to Curtis.
Okay.
That's the ethnic vote. Cuomo, all Staten Island, all those votes will go to Curtis.
Right.
Curtis is ahead of Adams. It has been for the last 5
That's
polls.
true. That is true.
So, you know, has anybody really taken Curtis? And I would have told Curtis a major mistake he's making running his campaign. And I remember when I used to say this in our campaign, and people would laugh at me. But Mayor, you wound up with 20% of the black vote.
Mhm.
And everybody would, oh, really, he'll never get that. He'll never do this. You know, I think it was 25%.
Yep.
Curtis has not shown up to a black church.
And they may get moved over by Democratic Party, but I don't see him Mandami as a natural for the black vote.
No, he's not.
First of all, there's a lot of anger that he claimed to be black. A lot of anger about that.
And not only that, you know, evangelicals.
Blacks are not socialists and communists.
Evangelicals, which I am,
Right.
a suspect of, you know, Islam, and especially that wing of Islam he comes from.
Yeah,
Because as you know, man, we had a great relationship with Imam Pasha and all of those.
of course.
But those are Sunnis.
Yeah,
You know, this guy, he's coming from the Shia side,
right.
you know, which are those mullahs and stuff in Iran. I mean, that follow that intifada and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's where he's coming from. So people who read and understand what's really being said realize how dangerous this kid is.
So I think he'll get the black vote that no matter what just ends
Right.
up voting for Democrats.
Right.
And maybe
Right.
even a little
Right.
less than that.
Right. See,
Even less than the usual.
see, man, Curtis don't have to get 50% of the black vote.
Well, we've
if he-
got to
if-
get 15 or 20 and people
There
stay
you
home.
go.
And people stay home.
There you go.
Even people staying home.
And then he wins. I think if he was to trim off 10, 15% of the black vote,
You see, the real thing that throws this off is Adams should be controlling the black vote.
he should.
And therefore he could build on that,
Right.
or he could switch it to somebody.
Right.
And the reason for that, what, do they think he didn't come through for them as mayor?
He's a friend.
Yeah, I like him too. I like Adams too. And I honestly think he tried. You don't think he tried? Okay.
No, I set him down when he won in November. I set him down in December. My pastor and I, we had a private conversation with him, and he told me, he said, Rudy, Bill Clinton called me and Biden called me. Both of them called me in the last 2 days. I said, oh, and what was the conversation like? And he told me, and I said to him, I said, you know what they're saying to you? And I could tell by the way his eyes and everything, his reaction, he didn't know what I was saying. I said, Eric, they're saying to you, you can do as an African-American what they can't do, and that is drag this party back from the abyss. I said, Eric, if you do it, sky's the limit for you. And he really, his eyes open up.
He believed that at the beginning. He was actually thinking president at the beginning. I know that.
Yeah, I know that too.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give him that. I told him, look, any board appointment, that's going to pay,
Right.
big pay, $100,000. I said, you'll get it. Maybe if you wanted a cabinet position, HUD or something, you'll get it. I said, right now, today, you're the only African-American in the Democratic Party of any stature that could pull this party back from the abyss.
That was true, because whether he did or not, he was perceived to have won as the moderate candidate.
Exactly. And he said to me, well, Rudy, how do I do that? And I said, really simple. And he really got perplexed. He says, how? I said, it's the people you pick. I didn't want to tell him, look, man, stay away from that cesspool.
The ones all going to jail now?
I didn't want to say that to him, but I was, you know me, man. I don't have to be nasty all the time,
No, but you're always very straight.
But he heard me, but he went and did the complete opposite, and we see the results. And not only do I see it, but a lot of African Americans see it.
We brought over the crew that's now involved in whacking up all the money for illegal aliens that whacked up all the money for the homeless when he was borough president.
Right.
Now, I would elect to believe that they did it around him and he's not directly involved in it, because that was true of Koch. But that may not be true.
Right.
And nobody is going to believe that. And that could be true, but nobody's going to believe that.
Man,
So, I mean, they haven't connected the corruption directly to him, but there's so much around him that it says, well, you're either involved or you're incompetent.
Mayor, since leaving government, I've done 2 hotels, did the last building in Battery Park. And I remember when COVID came around and we started with the hotels for COVID, then the migrant situation.
But that, of course, was de Blasio and Cuomo together.
So I told some of the owners that I know, I said, stay away from it. When they told me who was managing and calling, I said, stay away from it. And they were like, Rudy, but I can go to a 100% occupancy. I said, trust me, stay away from it. And I banged them in the head with this and literally almost stopped them from. And today they constantly, oh God, you were right. You're right.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, the money you would have spent.
And we've never really recovered from it.
No,
right?
No.
We've
so
never
much,
really recovered from it.
So much is wrong. I mean, when you look at this whole question of Mandami, we're down somewhere around 8,000 police officers. And because of George Floyd and that whole 2020 defunding the police, the recruitment numbers were way off.
Right.
Just like the military was until Trump got reelected. And as a result, because of the migrants, we've spent probably somewhere in the area of $7 billion worth of money that we didn't have. So whoever the mayor is going to be is going to have a busted budget completely.
Yeah, he wants to spend $10 billion more on giving them free grocery stores,
well,
free transportation.
Well, you and I know where that goes.
Transportation.
You and I know where that goes. Who pays for it? That's the problem. That's the problem with these socialists.
We pay for it, and Mandami's friends get it.
Right.
They're not doing all this out of love for New York City.
Look, just look at the numbers of people who fled to Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, all these places. This notion that he's going to redistribute the wealth of billionaires. I mean, Mayor, think about 1 second. If Goldman Sachs, they got more employees now, I think, in Austin, Texas than they do in New York. If they move out of New York, you tell me what happens to our bond rating. Exactly. For those who couldn't see the mayor, his thumb went down. And when that happens, we're in big trouble.
New York used to be a city with a very diverse economy. But by the time I was mayor, really, we depended a lot on Wall Street.
Yeah.
And not Wall Street, the whole financial industry could be as much as 50% of our economy, if you count construction, restaurants.
Yeah, well, 40% of our tax income.
Yeah, that's how we predicted it.
Yeah.
If Wall Street had a bonus, we had a surplus. Wall Street had a loss, we had to cut services. You could almost predict based on Wall Street. Got to be half of Wall Street's gone.
And man,
just using the computers.
I know, I know, Mary, you remember this because I got a big kick out of it when you said it. And it's one of the things I was disappointed in Mike Bloomberg about. We lost 9/11. We lost, 200,000 jobs overnight?
Mm-hmm.
And you remember when American Express tried to leave?
Mm-hmm.
What did you go on television and say? You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you call them, yellow, right?
Yeah. You call them cowards, and they couldn't use the name American anymore. And
exactly.
they were
and
walking out on all
stayed.
those brave people who died.
And they stayed because of you. They stayed.
And I said I would spend the rest of my life going around.
Days after 9/11.
Oh, wow, okay.
You know?
I said I spend the rest of my life going around the country telling people that.
Well, good for you.
And what happened though? Bloomberg came into office, and rather than fight to revitalize Wall Street, he just said, "Oh well, just change the zoning and make it housing, all in Lower Manhattan." And I feel, look, only thing I ask from my politicians, no matter who you are, Democrat, Republican, whatever, it's like going to a prize fight. I want to see you fight.
Right.
You lose, it's okay. You my man, I pick you up off the floor next time. I don't have no respect for politicians who don't fight. If you're not going to fight for me, don't run for office.
Yeah, I mean, that's what typifies them today.
Yeah.
Some of them can talk a good game.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, when push comes to shove,
please.
they cave in.
They like the cocktail parties.
Right.
Yeah, the cocktail parties and the contributors. Right.
Yeah, and the spotlight, the parties, and it's not about you and me, and that's the problem. That's the problem today. A major problem even with this kid. He doesn't love this city. How could he love the city when you don't love the people?
Yeah. I mean, he loves Islam.
Yeah,
It's quite obvious. Or he pretends to love Islam.
What you don't love this one because he's Jewish.
Hmm?
You don't love this one because he's gay.
Hmm?
You don't love this one because, what? They went after Columbus because he's Italian?
Right.
I mean,
That's not a New Yorker.
that's not a New Yorker.
Yeah.
So, how you claim to love America but hate Americans?
Is there any chance? So here are we, September 12th. In 2001, the election turned around from September 11 until
Overnight.
overnight, right?
He was losing. Who was it? Was it Freddie Ferrer?
Bloomberg
Was
was
it
losing
Freddie
by-
Ferrer he was losing to?
By
Or-
15, 18.
Yeah.
He was losing either Green or Freddie.
Yeah.
And do you know, the governor, well, you were with him.
Yeah.
The governor,
We canceled the
governor
election.
closed the election.
Right.
People who have seen the results say that Freddie was ahead.
Oh, no, Mayor. The
We're
governor.
talking about Freddie Ferrer, who was the borough president of the Bronx, running against Mark Green, who was really like the deputy mayor in the sense of the guy who could, but he's a Democrat. He's the guy long-term who would succeed me if I died or got shot or whatever.
No, me and the governor was working hand in hand.
Mhm.
We closed the schools, we shut down the election, and the reality is, if not for your endorsement, Bloomberg wouldn't have won. He wouldn't have won. I mean, it was weird because he was kind of running away from you before 9/11.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, all of a sudden he went in my pocket.
Because if you remember, Mayor,
I think he resents me for that.
if you remember, Mayor, very few people, and I'll put it out publicly only because you were party to it, he came to you and asked you as if you were my father and said, could I have Rudy to run with me for public advocate against Betsy Goffbaum?
Yeah, I know.
People don't know that, but he came to you,
Right.
and asked that. And this was what, January of that year,
Yeah, sure.
before 9/11?
Yeah.
I mean, so he was losing, 9/11 happens.
And he had spent pretty much near $100 million.
200.
See, that was good for the economy, though.
Yeah.
So, is there any chance? I guess there's always a chance, but I need to hear you. Is there any chance on one of these people winning other than Mondami? And if so,
Curtis.
who is the best choice? Let's let him say it.
Curtis Lewa.
Well, I wish Curtis was more into the strategy of campaigning, because I truly believe still in New York, we have a lot of law-abiding New Yorkers. We have a lot of New Yorkers who clearly understand the danger of putting a socialist in there who's not going to fund the police department. He's not going to have to defund it. It's already undermanned.
Right.
And when he goes in, the retirement rate is going to double. It's going to double, and he's not going to replenish it. So it'll be a sleight of hand where the department will go down without him cutting it. That is the only thing I can see he can accomplish that he said he will accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else he can't do. He can't tell you what to charge for rent. He can't take money from
But you know,
billionaires.
the city is losing everything right now. Everything is going somewhere else. It depends on the percentage. There's nothing he's going to be able to do to stop that.
No, it's going to speed it up.
In fact, when people start to realize, they hear this word like, I'll make the city affordable.
No, please.
Well, he's going to make the city affordable by making it impossible to live here.
Mayor, you may not recognize this, but you're the only mayor in my lifetime that made the right moves to keep us out of a death spiral, which I think we're in right now.
Mhm.
You held the unions to double zero.
Right.
If you remember that term.
Oh, I do. I get
You got
attacked for it even
excoriated
now.
for it. I remember, yeah, because I used to get it.
Yeah.
You know, people used to jump on me about you.
Yeah, they hated me for that.
Yeah.
Even the ones who voted for me hated me for that.
Exactly. But, look,
I had no choice.
exactly. You understood the only money government have is your money.
Right.
So if you give and what we have now, and it's one of the things that Reagan understood, why you cannot have unions within the federal government, because it becomes, I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Mhm.
It's not an adversarial relationship with management and employee. I mean, if you have a private corporation and the guys in the room here, we decide we're going on strike, we have an adversarial
Yeah,
relationship.
and those private unions are becoming Republican.
Oh yeah, because they see
Because
something
they
else.
see they need a good
Right.
business deal. If the union can't do well unless the business gets a good deal.
And the businesses are fleeing.
Hmm?
So they're waking up. They're waking up. And not only that, Long Island has its problems. They're losing their young people. Their young people cannot afford to pay the taxes.
Right.
I mean, so that's why I said as a state, we're in a death spiral.
Hmm?
Instead of looking around saying, okay, we got $1 billion in fee evasion. How do we enforce this? We got to, Mayor, people don't understand welfare to work. I mean, and I see
It's
some.
gone.
Yeah.
Clinton announced, we're going to end welfare as we know it. He borrowed our workfare program,
Mhm.
made it work,
And it worked for us.
and it worked for us beautifully.
Right.
It's gone
It's gone. So
in the wind.
so now what you have is everybody wants to get on the wagon. Nobody wants.
What that assured was that we could try to stop people from losing the work ethic.
And
Because if
they've
they
lost
lose
it.
the work ethic, it's very hard.
Now
to
it's
bring them
this. Give me.
back. Yeah, but if
And-
you
and
keep
you
them
get
working,
poli-
they'll be fine.
You got politicians saying, yeah, we're going to give you, and that's what this
And
kid
then
is doing.
if we give you, you vote for me.
Right.
1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and then you vote for me when you're dead.
We're not going to become like Chicago, I hope.
Yeah. I always used to say, I really felt bad. All my vote improved, my black vote, my Hispanic vote, my women's vote, Just my dead vote never improved. Democrats always beat me on the dead vote.
Yeah.
I just I had no idea how
Well,
to
you
kill those dead
should
people.
have talked to old man daily.
Right. Yeah. How do you get them out of the game graves? Well, we're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back.
Before I
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Really is unfair to put Rudy on the spot. We're not talking about Rudy me, we're talking about Rudy Washington if you haven't been with us. This is the Rudy Giuliani Show, and we're talking to former Deputy Mayor Rudy Washington, just a remarkable guy and a great expert on politics in New York. And of course, I'm trying to force him to tell me that somebody else will be mayor other than Mondami, so I don't go home crying. So, but Rudy has always had a quality that you have to respect. He's very nice, very gentlemanly, but he's very blunt. Okay, please, please, I'll take this one up. Please. You want to talk about tariffs?
Yeah, because I think people don't understand.
There's no doubt about it. They don't understand it. Yeah.
It goes back to the statement I made in the earlier segment about at the end of World War II, we were 70% of the GDP globally. And hence, we came up with, as you know, Mayor, these young kids out here don't know it, but we came up with the Marshall Plan. And the Marshall Plan was basically to help all those countries that were decimated during World War II, even down to Germany, Europe, Japan, all the countries were decimated. Hence, I believe we went into a lot of these, and you're a little older than me, so you might have been a little ahead of it, but I remember any toy that had made in Japan was junk.
Oh, yeah. It's a joke about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You'd buy it and
A day later.
I remember a couple of times, before buying it for my kids, like they weren't hard to put together because they're very simple. The minute you put them together,
Yeah. So we let countries take advantage of us for the purpose of getting them on their feet. But at some point, and I remember, because I thought it was a nice looking little car, the Silica, that came out of Japan, I believe. And I looked at it and it was like, wow. And we were going through the gas shortage of what, 73 that was, when we were rotating license plates.
when we had they gave you the numbers.
You had an even plate number, odd plate number.
That was first with Nixon and then with Carter.
Right. And I remember my father used to have to drive to Jersey, so we would rotate plates. He had an odd plate. I had to go to the gas station, fill up, But the point I was going to make was that we allow these countries to take advantage of us. And I remember when the first foreign car came into the market, with high mileage, I was like, what? And it was nice looking, sporty looking car. Yeah, Toyota Celica. And we did not adjust. We just allowed it. We allowed it to take market share, move in, next a different model. And we sat back and we let these countries. So at some point.
You think that was the beginning of the deterioration of our dominance of the automotive industry?
Of the automotive industry, not just everything. We allowed them to take advantage of us.
That would affect Michigan a lot, your state.
Right. We allowed it because we were trying to help. But at a certain point, maybe in the 80s, somebody should have did what Donald Trump did, the president. Said, whoa, wait a minute. No, we can't carry these kind of deficits. We got to level this playing field. And no president has done that until this one. And he's being excoriated for it, and it's wrong.
He's being excoriated because he's breaking into their deals.
Exactly.
I mean, those deals benefit certain little groups. And they're
in this country.
Groups, and they're going to come out again. And that's why you find the Wall Street Journal. Right. The Wall Street Journal represents those groups.
They're globalists, and they have their own perception of what the world should look like. And we're standing in the way. Yeah. And Donald Trump is a disruptor. Hence, you look at the media and the way the media, covers for the crazy left. We're looking at it in this mayoral race. What entity is called Mandami out and say, well, wait a minute. How are you going to take money from billionaires? How are you going to redistribute that? How does that work? Explain it to us. Explain us how you're going to have these supermarkets run by the city. When we barely doing a good job of picking up garbage. I mean, so just tell us how it works.
Right.
Tell us how you're going to tell somebody they can't raise their rent in their private home. How does that work? Tell us how you're going to tax white communities, over brown communities. Explain that to me, how that fits into the Constitution. And as soon as you get the words out of your mouth, a lawsuit is in it. I mean, how does all this work? They don't question nothing. They're giving him a free ride, So it's when you think how sinister that is, the danger to the city to allow this to happen, I think is purposeful. I can't see it any other way.
We agree with you. There's a whole communist, Marxist thing behind it, an Islamic extremist thing. And they don't care about the white people. They don't care about the black people. They care about the brown people. The American. All they care about is getting power and taking it and making us part of the global community that they're going to dominate.
And I look at our elected officials and I say to them, you think this is not going to impact you?
The first.
We're
the first ones that are gone.
Yeah. When things get really bad in this city in terms of lawlessness, you think there's somewhere in the city you're going to live and be in peace and sleep comfortable at night? You think so?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I also know about Rudy Washington is a very religious man. And therefore, like Charlie Kirk,
yes,
who I believe if he had a moment to think, just gave himself up to God. I don't know. I feel like I can see that in his face when he went over. I didn't see shock, I just saw him go over, and I think
a sad moment.
He knew, like we all knew, that the day comes, You got to be ready for it. And I mean, I know you'll agree with me on this. This all started by throwing God out of the country.
Oh, that's like I said.
You can go back 50 years.
Right.
When they
it
threw
started.
him out of schools, and they threw him out of the public square, the whole country fell apart. I say to people, if you don't believe in God, you're better off if other people do, because you'll have a better society.
Yes.
So don't be stupid. I believe in God out of spiritual belief. You should just be okay with it out of practicality. And because you can't tie ethics together unless you have a supreme being.
Right. Right. You can't be tied together at all.
Well, you can hear Rudy on WABC. He's always eloquent.
Oh, is that right?
He's always eloquent.
Yeah, I do drive time on Wednesday nights. Yeah.
So you gotta watch for him, and we'll have him on anytime he wants to be on. And I think maybe another time before the election, Rudy.
Yeah, because there might be some changes. Still,
Yeah, I mean,
time.
I do think the only thing I say about modern politics is, unlike when we were younger, which it pretty much stayed, you had to work it within patterns that always worked out. Now things just poof,
And Mayor, just
change.
before I run, I'll close with this. Nobody has moved up. Everybody's seemed to have topped off and stayed there. There's been no movement. Now, as you know from experience, when you get into that final week or two, the polls tighten up.
Yeah, and
somebody breaks out.
Yeah.
There still may be time, but it's getting late. A friend of mine and yours, John Catsimatidis, was saying back in July, oh, yeah, wait until September. And I was like, no, we shouldn't be waiting until September.
Yeah.
We should be rounding up money now and, putting together a good street operation.
I think John thought it would coalesce behind Cuomo.
Yeah, he did.
Which is a good guess because Cuomo is the name.
Right.
And if you're really thinking about who has the best chance, that'd be like the traditional choice.
But what bothers me,
on the other hand, we're not living in the traditional era, and you may be right. Curtis is the only chance.
I mean,
something different.
He hasn't moved. Cuomo has stayed steady. He hasn't grown his numbers at all.
I mean, people have made up their mind about Cuomo.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
Yeah. As to the extent that they made up their mind over Curtis, it's not the same.
No. Well, and they made up their minds about Adams to a degree also. And that's why neither one of them can punch their way out.
For all the things that he didn't do right. He was a heck of a lot better mayor than de Blasio.
Oh,
okay, I know that's not saying a lot, but still. And here's the one thing that he generally has the right ideas. He doesn't have the gumption to follow through. Well, maybe this could give it to him if he gets another chance.
Well, I said,
I take any one of the three of them.
Oh, I would too.
I
would. I would celebrate.
They all decided this is the guy, I'm behind him.
I would celebrate.
Yeah,
behind either one of the three. Yeah. I really would.
Well, maybe that'll happen. We'll see.
All right, Mayor, good seeing you. I feel a lot better. I thought I was going to have to drive up to New Hampshire.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
I was talking to Kathy and Rudy, how you were doing. When I got ready to come up there, they said, oh, no, he's getting out today.
Yeah, okay. They were coming to visit me the day I got out.
Yeah, I was coming up there. Did they?
Well, what's better than one Rudy in the mayor's office?
Two. Oh, we used to confuse the hell out of them, right, Rudy?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll be right back.
Thank you, sir. You want to go to commercial? Thank you.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back after this break.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnels to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnels to Towers at
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. U.S. Army Major Scott
Are you ready
Smiley.
for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani once again back on America's Mayor Live, and we had a very, very interesting discussion with former Deputy Mayor Rudy Washington. As you can see, Rudy is very, very knowledgeable and very, very experienced on a wide range of subjects. His business, and of which he's very successful, is a construction business, and it's very broad ranging. He constructs everything and anything, and he does a fabulous job. He's a real honest perfectionist. So whereas in any industry, you're going to find people who fool you, and everybody who's done business with Rudy is very satisfied and they love him. You can't do better than that, right? Having people love you. So while I was talking, Rob was trying to, we actually sent him to the Lego store, and he bought these Legos. Now you're going to say, what the hell is Rudy Giuliani doing with Legos? Now you're going to see what Rudy Giuliani is doing with Legos. What we're going to do, I am very frustrated by the fact that in all these days, of which there haven't been that many, since the tragic, brutal death of Charlie Kirk, they haven't answered one obvious question that I'm going to need an answer to if I can figure this out. Now, I'll try to get us situated this way. Let's go if we can to the television screen and take a look at what it looked like there. Let's take a look here. I want to get the right one. All right, that's a good one to start with, and then we can go to that one. And I just want to make sure. Okay. We will start with this one here, right here. Okay. So what you're looking at, of course, is the campus of Utah Valley University on the 10th. This would be at approximately to whatever the exact time was when the shot took place. We'll show you this in a moment, but it was during a question and answer period with a male student who was asking about the number of mass murders, and particularly the number of mass murders committed by transgender people, because we've recently had, a fair number of them, a number that would legitimately raise the question, if you were willing to be open-minded and fair to everyone, not just the transgender community, is there a connection between the treatments and the whole process of that mental illness, which I know people resist calling a mental illness. Unfortunately, if you want to be guided by science, until the deterioration and prostitution of science, it has invariably always been a mental illness. By definition, it's a mental illness. Schizophrenia is living a reality that is false. A simple example is, I believe I'm Abraham Lincoln. I walk around, I buy a beard, and I start walking around giving the Emancipation Proclamation. I read it. I do the Gettysburg Address, and I quit work, and I stopped doing my show. And people say to me, why are you doing that? And I say, I am Abraham Lincoln. Something went wacko in my brain, and I no longer am in touch with reality. Okay, I'm a male. I was born that way. I have the male organ and everything else that's male. And if I start thinking that I am a female, depending on how far I go in that direction, I'm removed my mind, which is what happens when I start thinking I'm Abraham Lincoln, right? Is now removed from a reality. Huh? I'm not that. I just don't accept it. And now if I start putting chemicals in my body, we have no idea what the effect of that is. And then if I start making catastrophic changes, we know what the effect of it is. The chances of my committing suicide go up 2 times. Now, many, many people lie about that, but you've got to go to the European studies, which are definitive about the fact that the danger of suicide lies not in putting off the transgender medicines and mutilation. The danger of suicide lies in actually doing it, because there are many more suicides of people who regret it than there are of people who didn't do it. You can always do it later on when you are old enough and able to make that decision without carrying with it the regret process, which is part of this. So these are things that have to be considered when you consider transgender. So there was an awful lot in that question that was being asked of Charlie. They have identified the person who did it, the young man who did it. There are people who thought it was a suspicious connection, that he was being asked about the mass shooting by transgender people. And then he answered it with a question, a return question, which is, when he was asked how many of mass shootings in general, he said, do you include the gang-related shootings, correct? And when he said that, within almost momentarily, he was shot. So people, and then there was somebody saying that gentleman was looking at the shooter. That I didn't say. So people were wondering, is there a connection between the two? I don't think I don't see a connection, but after all, I'm not investigating it. And I don't think that has been suggested, but it has, I shouldn't say that. It has been suggested, but I don't think it's been supported. But in any event, just at that point, he gets hit, looks like either directly or it pierces through the carotid artery. Every doctor that I've had a chance to talk to, including Dr. Maria, who was an emergency, worked in emergency rooms for a long time. So therefore, this is an area she'd have familiarity with. Like every doctor, there's areas to have familiarity with, areas to don't. This is one that many times I've seen when we've looked at shootings, and she got a really good instinct for it. The moment she saw it, she said, I don't want to be cruel, but I want to just introduce reality. He's not going to survive this. It was too much blood that had come out, and it looked like it blew open the artery completely, possibly 2. Possibly 2 sources of blood, not just 2 arteries. But in any event, the reality is, the question is, how did he get this shot off? Now, people say it was only 200 yards. That's 2 football fields. There are analyses of this that say it's less than that. But then even less than that gets down to about 1.5 to 1 3/4 football fields. So 150 yards, 170 yards. A straight on shot of that length, it's not an impossible shot by any means. It's not an easy shot. It's not a sure thing shot, but it's a shot that can be made by any number of people who have good and decent familiarity with shooting. It also was a bolt action gun, which means it's you know what they are. Well, maybe you don't. Most liberals don't know about guns, and they make jackasses out of themselves when they talk about them. Automatic weapons are not automatic. Oh, never mind. Assault weapons are not. They have no idea how the gun operates, so they don't know what's safe and what's not when you're dealing with gun control. But in any event, a bolt-action rifle, which this certainly appears to be because they recovered it, right? You've seen it on television. You've seen it in the movies if you haven't handled it. You have to do this in order to shoot. You got to pull it back, load it up, and shoot. What does that do? That lengthens the time between shots. Depending on how good you are, that could be a lot of time or a little bit of time. But it's certainly a match, an automatic weapon, which you put your finger on the trigger, and 5 bullets come out, 6 bullets come out, 7 bullets come out, and the only time between them is the amount of time it takes for them to get there. Now, a movement, as we saw with Donald Trump, where an automatic weapon was used, was life-saving, and it would have been in terribly frustrating to think. It certainly would have been in Charlie's case if, in fact, he had moved, but he didn't. He had no reason to think that he should move. So the reality of the situation is, had Charlie been just standing there 200 yards away, it's not a sure thing that he gets hit. It's sure not a sure thing he gets hit in the carotid artery. I believe he was wearing a bulletproof vest. I believe. I'm not sure. Are you sure, Ted, about that?
Yes. We have the diagram on.
So had he gone for the more obvious and easier place to hit, which is the center of the body, I don't know if this would work, but the center of the body, and a bulletproof vest protects you up to here. So had he gone for the center of the body, he would have injured him with a bullet of that range, but he wouldn't have killed him, and it might not have gotten. It would have probably caused a cut and a bruise, but it's not gonna pierce the body and open an artery or something. So did he know? Did he know that he had a bulletproof vest on, and therefore aim for the neck, the head? That remains to be seen. It's important to know. It would show how planned this was. In all of the analysis of this, which has been substantial, nobody points out that there was a roof over the head of Charlie Kirk, the tent. Well, it's a roof. He was covered. You didn't have a straight shot at him. You had to if you wanted to shoot right down, you had to shoot through the roof. Or you had to shoot between the small amount of space the top of the roof to the base of the tent gave you. So now let's look at it. This is a very funny little diagram. I'm sure the FBI has a much more sophisticated one.
Right.
When I work with them, we used to do much more sophisticated ones.
When we say fun, crude, we mean
and we're
crude.
doing the best we can to recreate it. Let me show you what we're basing it on. Let's go here for a second. Let's go to the real situation first, okay? Here's the real situation. So the shooter was up here, right here. The shooter was on top of Losi Center. We believe at the highest point of Losi Center, which would place him quite a bit above, right over here. He's right up there. That's where the shooter is. When he shot, the bullet went along this trajectory and somehow hit Charlie, who was roughly here, with the tent right next to the building. One obstacle it had to overcome, which to a not terribly good shooter could be a terrible distraction, it had to clear this little projection of the roof. And somehow it had to keep descending, right? And it doesn't descend like this, right? It descends like that. In the way of it was a tent on top of here. So it had to go under that tent or through that tent or on the side of the tent, narrowing the the range by quite a bit. So let's look at it now from our Tego crude. Now, this is the killer. The killer is shooting from here. I want you to notice that I got to get the bullet in there. I don't think it went through the top. Nothing indicates that. It looks a little bit like he might have been like this. If I can pick him up, I don't know if I can. It could be, might have been like that for a minute. We'll put it like that.
Maybe he was slouched. Maybe he was prone on the ground.
Yeah, I would say I'm this exaggerate because this is all I have available, but just like that. He could have been like that. So it came in through here because that's what it looks like. It looks like it came in on his right side. I'm trying to get this right. Front right, and it knocked his head back left. It'd be very unlikely that it came in the middle. If he came in the middle, it would have knocked his head straight back. If it came in on the other side, it would have knocked his head to his right. So his head went this way, like this. So if his head went that way, right? If his head went like this, then he had to be hit over here, right?
That's where the bullet hit.
Okay. So the bullet had to be on this side, right here.
The front left.
But to go front left, you got to get in between here. Now you take this away, which we will do, and you put Charlie just out there like that. Look how much easier that is. Now you don't have to, now all you got to be worried about is hitting the middle of the body or his head. You don't have to be worrying about that roof that sits right there. So no one's explained that. And no one has explained what, when they talk about his being an expert marksman, not being an expert marksman, you tell me how a guy who isn't an expert marksman can get through that roof. And I really want this one to be one where we answer all the questions, not like the two travesties involving our president, in which the first one, the guy who died, that's one gone. We don't even know anything about him. And the second guy was traveling to Ukraine, and we're having a jerk-off trial where he's acting like a clown. And the FBI hasn't seemed to pick up any information except the most obvious information that we all know. And I'm getting tired of this because we're not going to stop it until we get to the bottom of it. And there is a bottom of it. Make no mistake about it. This is not happening by accident or because the weather is changing or because of climate change, which doesn't exist anyway. This is happening because of the march of communism. That's why it's happening. The infiltration of communists in our society broadly, from top to bottom, and their embrace of violence, and they're wanting to make us a violent society. Boy, they've made a lot of progress, haven't they? What a tragedy. So on the earlier show, we gave you a little on the Tyler Robinson profile. We'll just repeat that by saying this is one of those conundrums where from everything we can see, we have a kid that was anywhere from bright to brilliant. Maybe we're going to discover this somewhere, but we don't see discipline problems. We see two magic words that do appear in many of these profiles. He was shy, and he didn't have friends. Now, we can go back and pull them out, but I can think of several recent mass shootings where that was the description, kind of similar. Seemed like a good kid, either sometimes a good family, sometimes family problems. And then that family problem thing gets circled because something could be going on there, right? But they'd say he was kind of shy, and he didn't seem to have a lot of friends. So I'm saying that the category of loner, meaning alone, that may be a characteristic you put down on the board as one to look for. Because what we have to do here, we have to use these cases to develop a working hypothetical profile. I call it that because none of the characteristics are absolute. None of them are perfect. None of them are going to exist in every single one. But when you come up with enough and you study enough, they'll exist in enough so that you can start to bring this down. And the minute you start bringing it down, you're going to bring it down bigger than you think. I'll explain that some other time.
That's what ComStat was.
And that's what I did. I brought it down much bigger than I thought. And for every one of these things, I had a strategy. ComStat was a tool, an instrument to help those strategies. It's an instrument of much quicker, instantaneous analysis, but it's all trying to find these things. It's all trying to find these things. And I don't know if I don't see a great deal of inventive, creative work that's been done like that, like I'm going through with you right now.
That's because we don't have Rudy Giuliani.
What we have now on the screen are the official mugshots taken
So
today.
now we see him, looks like he was pretty close to 6 feet, maybe a half an inch under, right? There's 71, so he's 5'11", 5'11" plus. And who knows how he was standing. So you could say he was, if you were going to describe him, for a mugshot, you'd say a little under or right around 6 feet.
Right.
He seemed bigger in the picture that we saw, by the way. Maybe he had high heel shoes on or something. How do I know?
We'll try to get some.
So where is he now? He's now held on a charge of murder and a number of others in the state of Utah. They have a strange process where they can hold you, and then within 3 days, they have to file very specific charges against you. And those charges go before a court, and you get a hearing. That substitutes for a grand jury. And so I would say more than likely by Monday, certainly the latest Tuesday, we will have a very detailed description of what the police have found. And really, if they confine themselves to the circumstantial evidence they've gathered, and we've shown you, and others have shown you from the film that they have, you got probable cause for sure. Even without his confession, I think you have a successful prosecutable case. It will be prosecuted, they say, in state court because the death penalty is available as an option and they want it. And the confession will have to be examined carefully. I think we explained on the earlier show, I'm not sure if we didn't explain here, that it came about in one of two ways. Either the son came home and told the father, or when the son came home, the father recognized him from the pictures and said, "You're the one who did it, kid. We have to do that. We got to straighten this thing out."
And here's an old video that surfaced of the shooter a number of years ago, but this is at least one clip we have of him on video. And we'll get the audio on.
President.
Okay.
Congratulations. You have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
That's his mom in the background.
What was that?
That was his mother.
What'd you do?
Cheering.
Oh.
So that what you just saw, folks. Sorry, a lot of moving parts. This is a video that surfaced of the alleged shooter, 22-year-old Utah resident Tyler Robinson, who, as the mayor had correctly said, has been apprehended in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Details of Mr. Robinson have been kind of trickling out through the day. And as the mayor has also said, you got to kind of check, double check, triple check this information as it comes in. Of course, a lot of stuff, the information comes in fast. And once the name is released, people start digging into these individuals' background. And we learn more throughout the day. Again, this individual did not attend the University Utah Valley the place where the shooting took place. He attended Utah State
One semester.
one semester.
But he was apparently very bright. Like in several cases described as genius bright, which is, not usual, right? Not necessarily with these killers, but I mean, it's not usual in society in general, which would make him sort of someone you might think would be interested in Charlie, as opposed to angry at him.
Right.
What we don't know is why he was angry at him. And we don't know how far that extends. Is his anger at Charlie somehow personal, which is highly unlikely, or does it have to do with the length and breadth of the movement that he uses, which would embrace Trump, and embrace me, and embrace a lot of people? I think it's going to turn out to be the movement, and particularly with the fascist etchings on the gun and the ammunition. I would say this must be, given the nature of the letter, toward the end of his high school career.
Yeah. Yes. It appeared to be an acceptance letter
For a scholarship. Yeah.
For a scholarship.
So let's pass on quickly to a couple of other subjects so I can send you over to Dr. Maria. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Dr. Maria Lindell TV.
The Saudis have been found in a report that's now been unearthed. Look how long it's taken from the records of Operation Encore to have had two of their officials, Mutab al-Sudari and Abdel Mohammed al-Sadan, as people who appeared to have given material help at various times to the hijackers. There's video footage, there's a report on it. It's been undiscovered for all these years, and now it's been made public. And what it does do, and therefore we can be assured that this will be analyzed properly. This is going to be used in the lawsuit against the Saudi government, which has been upheld by the federal courts for being involved in the slaughter of almost 3,000 innocent Americans, and for their helping the Al-Qaeda murderers who came here to murder us. Now, I want to warn you about this. This may not mean the royal family. This may mean people who were renegades against the royal family, people who would have cooperated with the street for the taking over and the destruction of the royal family. From all we can tell, and of course, the lying here is legendary. But then again, you got to go with what the majority of the intelligence tells you. Then you got to go beyond it, because our intelligence is for shit. And I know it's for shit because of the 51 spies who lied about me. But I've known it since I was a kid. It goes back to Jack Kennedy and the Bay of Pigs. And it goes right through Reagan. And I don't think you could find an honest American president that would tell you that our intelligence is worth anything. I don't know why exactly. I think corruption has something to do with it. Industrialization, payoffs, traitorous conduct, and once again, our consistent 160-year enemy Marxism. But in any event, I do think that the responsibility of the Saudis goes further than was examined, but I doubt that it goes to the Saudi government. It may have some people working in the government, but we got people working in the government who are traitors, right? So it would stand to reason they have a lot more of them. But in any event, it's important to locate that, because even if the royal family didn't approve it, even if it was against their interest, enough involvement, they're responsible for it, and they have to fork over the big bucks. Sorry. So that's a good development. There haven't been too many good developments. Another good development is I was able to go to the Ground Zero event yesterday, which I have gone to every time but one. The one time I went to it, I couldn't even go in a wheelchair. I had split the 4 ligaments on my right knee, and I couldn't move it. And I had to remain having it suspended for a period of 2 weeks And this ceremony was right in the middle of that period. So I watched it virtually. But every other year I have been there, and I wasn't going to miss it, even though I was embarrassed to sit in that chair. But it was the only way I could do it. And I was very glad to be there and to see the people that I see every year, and to see how they're getting older, and to still cry for them for not having had a daddy or a mother, but also to be extremely heartened by the fact that they've grown up to be really, really good kids. God bless them. And there's never going to be a time that I don't honor the men and women who died that day, the civilian heroes, the uniformed heroes, my people. The ones that they now attack, want to disfund. What the hell is wrong with them? Why don't they go to some other country? They don't belong here. We honor our men in uniform, our women in uniform. They're better than us. They do something we're not sure we got the guts to do. Put our lives on the line. They do it for a living. They don't get a choice of whether to do it or not. You get a choice. 2 weeks ago, Ted and I had a choice of whether to stop or not. We didn't have a duty to do it. We're not wearing a uniform. They don't have a choice. I'm not sure you have a choice, but you think you do. Look at those people on the Charlotte trans thing. What a bunch of shit asses they were. How do they live with themselves? Cowards, watching that woman get slaughtered, watching her bleed out.
Right in front of
Gosh, what would it have taken to get up off your ass and help her? And I'm sorry if the guy's walking up and down that subway saying, I got the white girl, and the black mayor covered it up for 2 weeks. What the hell do you think it's all about? What do you want to do? Shove it down my throat? No, you didn't want to shove it down my throat because you covered it up. The time has come to face the truth. What I just said is not racist. What I just said is anti-racist. If you can follow what I said and work its way through its logical conclusion, we will have solved racism. But it's been taken hold of by the Marxists. Oh, you can read books on how they did this. Go back to the Italian communist Gramsci. For me, it was particularly powerful that this came after our revelations about the Charlotte killing. I guess it seems like it's not going to end. And then it comes just at a time. I mean, my worst day every year is September 10. related slavery than the Western nations did, and for 4 times the time. But nobody right. I saw an analysis of a library, one of the Ivy League, of course, libraries, which is a non-educational institution. When they say Ivy League now, it means make-believe education, fake education. Marxist indoctrination. It doesn't mean education. You don't learn history. You learn propaganda. But the reality is that there are something like 500 books on Western nation slavery, and there are 4 books on Islamic slavery, and one was about 10 times more prevalent than the other. So what kind of brainwashing is that? Oh, those Western civilization people hate us, although killed a lot more of us don't. Oh, by the way, in numbers of killings of blacks, it's off the chart. Which is why I'm telling you, they don't serve history. They served history, and that book about 1619 would have been about Muslims taking and kidnapping blacks going back to the 8th century, and the forced conversion of Iran, just genocide against the Zoroastrian people and their symbols. That's why it's very, very odd that they're sort of the center of Islamic proselytizing and the idea of an Islamic empire, when in fact they were forced under threat of death to become Muslims and to change their religion. And those that didn't were killed, and those that might persuade them opposite were eliminated, the way China eliminating or the way Islamics who are true to the religion want to eliminate the Jews. Please, the idea of eliminating the Jews for Islamics goes back to somewhere during the middle of Muhammad's career and has never stopped. So don't. Part of growing up and part of being mentally healthy is to be able to face reality. If that's not true, I'll tell you what really is true. The only way you solve a problem is by facing reality. Until we faced the reality of Hitler, he was dominating us. Until we faced the reality of the Muslim religion, article written about 6 years ago that was condemned left and right, it's completely accurate. Islam is a religion of violence. It is until they remove the violence from the Quran and they completely disavow it, and they stop making Muhammad a hero. Let's get rid of Muhammad and go right to God, because Muhammad was a mass murderer, a pedophile, a thief, a murderer, a liar. Oh, a few more things. And he left behind a process of conversion that relied on murder as the way to do it quickly, and the threat of murder. And it was carried out that way. And it continues to be. Not by all, not by a majority, but by a very significant, important group that may have the intellectual lead. Here's what it means. There's Ali Hershey is a wonderful woman who was Muslim because of the way Muslims treat women and what other has converted and has written about the horrors of the Muslim religion practiced that way. And she divides them into 3 different groups of Muslims, I believe. I think she says Mecca, Medina, reform. I know. She says those three. I'm going to get a little confused on the Mecca Medina one, but let me see if I get it right. So I think he began in Medina and he ended up in Mecca. So the people in Medina were taught a fairly agreeable religion. When they say the Islamic religion is the religion of peace, they're right. If Muhammad had quit and stayed in Medina, it would have been a religion of peace. It also wouldn't have spread anywhere, because he went around Medina telling people about how the Muslim religion was the completion of the Jewish and Christian religion. They were all very much related. They all went back to Abraham, the same God, the same book, because they used the Bible too. Well, the people in Medina, the Arabs, the Jews, and the Christians threw him out. They thought he was a nut, exacerbated by the fact that he had epilepsy and would have fits in the middle of his lectures. They didn't understand what fits were. They thought he was possessed by the devil. As things continued, it possibly was. Now we get to the Mecca Muhammad. The Mecca Muhammad went out into those gigantic deserts, and he talked to the ignorant people who would buy anything, and he convinced them that he was the messenger of God, that they would be the only true religion. These people were natural warriors. He was angry at being rejected, and he went back and he increasingly became violent. He took towns, cities, important businesses, vineyards, by war, by brutal, terroristic war. Go into a town, get the 10 elders, kill them, and say, this is what's going to happen to you. So we have the Medina Muhammad, which is peace. And we have the Mecca Muhammad, which is pure violence. I mean, not even, first of all, everybody else that doesn't believe in Muhammad is a dhimmi. They're like the underclass in India. They're not worthy of anything but spitting on and treating them as slaves. We should kill all of them if they don't convert. Some of his more mercenary followers said, hey, maybe, why do we have to kill all of them? Why don't we let them pay us? Because some of them make a lot of money. They make more money than we do. We can make money with them. This is what the Ayatollah does. So the Mecca Muhammad spread the religion by death and extortion. And then there's the third Muslims called the Reform Muslims. They're new. They have nothing to do with Muhammad, and they want nothing to do with Muhammad. They want to take him out of the religion. Just use those nice things that he said and get him out of the religion. So I would say that Ali Hershey says the future of the Muslim Islamic religion depends on who wins. And where do the Medina Muslims go? The peaceful ones, but the peaceful ones who do not stand up to the violent ones. Here, the difference I should have mentioned between the violent Muslims and the Mecca Muslims. Peaceful Muslims, the Medina Muslims are the peaceful Muslims. The Mecca Muslims are the violent Muslims, and the Reform Muslims are do away with all of it, and let's be peaceful. But the Medina Muslims are peaceful, but they won't speak out against Mecca. They're the ones who either support Hamas or won't speak out against it. They're like Mandami. I don't know which one he is, but he sure isn't a reform one. So if the peaceful ones keep supporting the violent ones, or at least refuse to stand up against them, like the Democratic Party does with the Squad, this thing is going to go on for years, and it's going to be a war. If the peaceful ones decide this is counterproductive and let's go with the reform ones, they can change it in a generation or two. So that's what we're facing. Not to honestly tell you that does not create the ideas and the thoughts that have to be very creative on how to deal with this, both militarily and diplomatically and religiously. So Russia is pushing it really far now, going into Poland with their drones, 150 miles into Poland, but it was an accident. Like hell, it was an accident. NATO did exactly the right thing. They shot every damn one of them down and lived up to their obligation under Article 5. And Trump basically just put his hands up and said he's had it. So let's see what results. I think already we're increasing the tariffs one by one. We did it with India. I think we're about to do it with China. If we do it with both, we'll crush the guy. And I think the second part of it is to make sure that Ukraine has the arms they need to make sure Russia goes no further, and that they have the scope to invade Russia. By invade, I mean bomb. And how the hell can he complain about that when he's killed so many civilians on purpose? And now he seems to be doing more than ever. He'll complain about it, but he won't do anything with it. He's a bully. Do I need to say it? You stand up to bullies and they fold. The Ruth trial with Trump, all it does is raise questions into my mind. Did they ever investigate anything? The guy's acting like a clown. The evidence that I hear, we knew on the first day. And nobody explains why this guy was going around the world. We'll have more to say about that. It's going to go on for a few weeks, and we'll have more time to look at it. We talked quite a bit about Mondani. We'll see what happens over this eventful weekend. Our friend, the former president of Brazil, Mr. Bolsonaro, has been convicted of a completely bullshit 2020 election interference case with a 20-year prison sentence. The judgment there was not by a jury, but by 5 judges. Boy, if they're as corrupt as a lot of the judges in America, the guy had no chance. President is going to try to get him out. Let's see. We can put a lot of pressure on Brazil. And they're pretty much moving in the communist direction anyway. It might be a bad idea to kick him around. JFK and his agency has put out a very interesting set of questions about autism. Of course, he's beaten over the head because they say he's blaming autism on women. You don't blame autism on someone. You find out how it happens. If it happens primarily because of the interaction with the woman, well, you're not blaming it on her. That's what happens. If it happens with the man or either. What all this raises in my mind, I've been through this for years, as to whether or not this is genetic, environmental. Does it have to do with injections? Does it have to do with the women's genes, the man's genes? Usually it happens a lot often when the parents are older. There's a lot of thinking that it's the man's genes that dominate it more, not the women's genes. There's some thought that the massive number of 60, 70 vaccines we give kids has increased autism. That is not a scientific fact. It is not, like the scientists tell you, a scientifically rejected fact. It's too big an investigation to reject. And there are studies that accept it. I don't accept it. I don't know. Kennedy is willing to raise that question. I had a great doctor that you don't know tell me the other day, this guy's the best thing that happened to us in 50 years. He's the only one that has the balls to take on the pharmaceutical, medical, industrial, crooked brainwashers, all for money. I leave you with an interesting thought. You know how they say if you're old, you got to be skinny? Now it says the the people who live longest, once they get past the age of 65, are the people who don't lose too much weight. Anybody at age 65 or more who loses more than 10% of their body fat has a much greater danger of Alzheimer's and all kinds of cognitive decline. The thinking of this study, the conclusion of this study, which is of thousands of people, is that the most weight you should lose is about 5% of your body fat. And that the people who lose weight at a much greater percentage develop cognitive diseases than the people who even gain weight. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's correct. I do know it defies popular wisdom. Therefore, it's going to be rejected because there's an awful lot of money put into you're losing weight and you take these injections that make, but they take them and they make them lose weight. And then you have all these advertisements about drink this, drink that, do this, do that, lose weight without exercise, all kinds of crazy shit. That idea of getting a 70-year-old to drop like 15% of his weight may exactly be the reason why he got dotty faster than somebody else. That's what they're saying. I don't know if they're right or wrong. I do know that there is a massive money group, corrupt money group, that will kill that idea, whether it's right or wrong. And I do know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. stands up against them. Thank you, Bobby. So we're going into a weekend. I'm worried about this weekend. Events were canceled. I was supposed to do an event with Steve Bannon and with Peter Navarro and with General Flynn, and it's been canceled, and it's an indoor event because they're worried. I'm not worried. I don't worry about it. I don't think we should worry about it, and I think it's a mistake to cancel these events, but don't count on me. I'm an irresponsible, crazy person. Look, I stopped to help that girl, and I got a broken back. A lot of people say you should have stopped. I say if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I'm okay with the broken back. I think I didn't stop things on September 11th. I said, we're moving forward. And we're going to catch you. I mean, I personally offered to execute bin Laden. Well, there are people sometimes that have more wisdom than I do, so I can't object completely. But I do think we shouldn't overreact to this. We're never going to create a perfect situation where we're going to be sure. No, but Charlie did. How much time I have? God knows that. And for a guy who didn't have much time, he did a lot more than people who have lived 77 years. So I'm being told I have to go. I hate leaving you because it's the weekend. And I hate leaving you because you give me a chance to explain the things that are taking us down and therefore fight against it. Because it's really in human knowledge and acceptance of new human knowledge and the human intellect working like a free, creative intellect that guarantees a beautiful free world. And it's not for sure, like all of our great founding fathers and Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump assure us. We have to fight for it and maybe give up our lives and maybe give up our blood. And maybe that's what happened to the wonderful patriot. So let's end praying for the soul of Charlie Kirk. I don't know how much praying we have to do for it. You always have to do praying for the soul of someone. But I don't know who can predict God, but I think he's in heaven. I know his family needs prayers. I've been through this so often, particularly with young families. It's for me, I don't want this to be about me. It's not, but it's devastating. For them, it's more than devastating. Please pray for them. They look like strong people. The kids look wonderful. The mom looks like perfect young lady. It's courageous and strong. But this tests everything. It tests everything. So God has to help you. You can't do this on your own. And I think God will. I think there'll be special people. He'll take them in his hands, and we'll pray to God that he does that. And we'll pray to God that what this does is awaken us to the things we have to face and the courage we need to face them. Yep, there has to be justice. Nobody believes in that more. But there also has to be understanding of what this is, really understanding it, having the courage to face the facts, having the courage to tell you that Islam is a religion of violence, taking you through the puzzles they create, the Democrats and the Marxists, and unwind them so you're not brainwashed, so we can get rid of these mayors and governors who create a lot of this violence and murder with the inaction and actions they take. Had the law in Utah been applied differently, this guy would have been in jail. This stupid magistrate wouldn't have had him sign a letter saying, I'll show up after 40 arrests. Where does that come from? Putting a non-judge Marxist, which inherently is being a traitor to the United States, on the bench. And she said, oh, Mr. 49 or 40 convictions, why don't you just sign it? We can trust you to come back. That, I do believe, requires immediate firing. So we shake them up. Got to shake these judges up. A lot of them have gone way beyond the law. They actually have committed crimes in a lot of what they've done. And the innocent people they've helped to prosecute, and the unfair trials they've given, and what the DC district did to the J6 people is an abomination of everything that's good, everything that's justice, everything that's Anglo-American, Judeo-Christian law. This is our chance. We got a president who's going to make sure, and you got to get into this. You're going to feel better if you get into it and you're doing something about it. Because even that terrible tragedy like Charlie's, you can be there to help the family. You can be there to help his friends who are suffering, be there to move on his work, because that's what he would want. I knew him. He was a brave man. A man that believed this was bigger than him. And what he would want right now is not only that you move on and fight this battle, but you get stronger. Because had he lived, he would have gotten stronger, like the president did. Well, pray for our people is what the Silla family took from the loss of Stephen, which you know from Tunnel to Towers. Strength comes from adversity. That's what we have to take out of this. That'll be a great example for them. Lift them. If they see that Charlie's death led to something really, really positive. Pray for the people that are unnecessarily subjected to death. Boy, the people of Ukraine are now necessarily subjected to death under Putin. The people of death and loss of rights because we're leaving the Ayatollah there. The people of Israel are still on the cusp of further annihilation. It's got to end. It's all got to end. And we've got to take Charlie's death and make it positive. And it has to end. So with that, we'll ask you to pray for our great president, because he's the one that needs the strength to lead us, and pray for you so you absorb it. And we'll tell you, Monday, we'll be back. You know where, 7 o'clock on Lindell, 8 o'clock on X, and who knows, over the weekend, maybe we hope not, because that might mean that something bad will happen. So we will now say, God bless America.